Hello, my name is Tim Lahili, and in this video we're going to be talking about exports in Quincy Discovery. We're going to be talking about the exporting options and the load file options. Load files are just a subsegment of exports in Quincy Discovery, so not really a separate topic. So let's hop straight into the tool and do just that. I'm already open into demo case 1. I have a whole bunch of objects labeled. In order to perform an export, you must have things labeled. We export based on labels. So let's go in here and click on export. And you can see sort of a simple, straightforward screen. It only gives you the option of 3 ways to export. You can export native load files or into an AD1. For those of you who don't know, AD1 is a compressed image format. Probably not relevant 90% of the time for you guys, but it's there if you need it. For the sake of this demo, we're just going to be focusing on native and load files. So let's go ahead and start off with native. When we pick that, it gives us file naming options. That's how we want the documents to come out. Original file name is pretty much what you will always choose, I suspect. But you have a whole bunch of different options here. If you want sequential naming, you can do with a new ID. If you want to name it after a column in the database, that's a pretty popular option. If you want to name it on Bates number, that's probably the most popular option. A whole bunch of different options here. But let's stick with original file name for now. We're going to append the object ID to these documents. That means it'll be original file name and then the object ID. I'm doing that because in this case, annoyingly enough, almost all my documents are named the exact same thing. In this case, it's 00001 or something. So we're going to need this additional object ID to differentiate between them. Okay, now it also gives us the option of what type of objects we want or what type of documents we want to export. Natives is almost always going to be your choice. That's the original objects you processed. Images is also a common second choice. In fact, actually it's probably 50-50 as to how often you use either of these. The least frequent one will be export text. That's really only relevant in some niche cases. Probably something you will rarely use, but it's there if you need it. Okay, the last thing we need to do is to select the label we want to export off of. We're going to just choose this new labeled 1177 label, and we need to give it a name, and I'm going to call it export 2. I'm calling it export 2 because I've already exported it, and I called it export 1 when I did it the first time. So let's go ahead and click go. It's just that simple. It says submitting native export, export starting. Now, exports can take a fair amount of time. So you can see the status by coming over here, and this is the job we're running. It's in progress. If you get errors, which are pretty common, we will get errors in this one because I've already run it here. There ends up being a log. It does not mean the job is done. Don't fret when you see errors. It just means that there are some errors that have been detected. I know this is a little bit of a mess here. We will clean it up, but let me point out something. This cell, this message, this tells you when it's done. You can see there are 6 stages. Copying file streams, that's done. Converting file streams, done. Family organization, done. Naming, done. Export files, done. Reducing email archives, done. And then it tells you the whole thing is complete. Now if we compare that to what we've got running here, actually let's refresh before we do it so that we get started there a little bit. You see we've already got the errors we were expecting. But if we look here, is this the right job? Oh, it looks like it might be done. So are we already done? Fantastic. It looks like we're already done. So that's unexpected. You can see it counted the proper number of items, 1,177. And it really blew through this. I suspect it really shouldn't have been that fast, and I suspect because I'm rerunning export I just did that it's already got all this information. You can see that, excuse me, this one took about 13 minutes, and this one here only took, well, virtually no time at all, only a few minutes, even, actually not even, virtually no time. And that's because clearly it figured out the fact that we just exported these and it's just using that. So anyway, once you've done your export, you can come to downloads and you can refresh. And here are our two different exports, and you can pick whichever one you want to download and go ahead and download it. These are a gig in size, so I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. Well, let's just do this. I'm just going to navigate to where it should be. Downloads. Right here, this is the download. I downloaded again close to a gig. That's why we're sort of skipping that step. And then I unzipped it, and it unzipped here. And this is what you get. You get a folder. Inside the folder, you'll get an Excel report telling you what those errors were, and we'll open those so you can see that. And then if you drill down, here are all your images and here are your native documents. So if we drill down on natives, you can see here are the 00001.txt files I told you about with the object ID appended to them. As well as if we go back into the images, we can just open it and boom, that's what we expect it to be. So the last thing worth showing is at least with regard to native exports, is that error report, because it can often be pretty important. Let's go ahead and copy these back to my desktop, and then let's paste the ones we just copied, and then let's open them and see what kind of information we got about the actual export. So this will detail any errors that might have occurred. You can see this document didn't properly export. If we want to go find it, we can go do that and see. There are various reasons why they might have. It might be that the actual native is not there. Sometimes that's the case. But you can just go look through all these different errors and see which are important and which aren't. See, this one has no actual native object. We had labeled it, but it's probably just a database object. Nonetheless, that's where you get that information. And then let's go ahead and open this one. This will just show you the status of how long each stage took and what it did. And so you can look through that. So that's really native productions. Nothing overly complex. Should be pretty easy to follow and do yourselves. Let me come back into here. Let's go back into Quincy again. Let's do a load file now. So all we're going to do is switch that to load file. When we do that, this load file tab shows up. Let's give ourselves a little bit more real estate. I'm not going to do a full lesson on load files. My assumption is you understand what load files are and how they work. Let's give this load file a name, load1. Let's just do a simple summation one, but you can see all the different types we support: concordance, EDRM, iConnect, relativity, a lot of support for the different load file options. Let's go ahead and add a few columns. We're going to export object name, object, let's see, object, let's do object ID, let's do file name, that's the one I wanted, file name, and then let's do path. That's a pretty simple, straightforward, typical export, and it tells you what type of keys you should give it in the event that it's a summation. Certain load files already had pre-programmed mappings, which makes them very, very helpful. Anyway, we're going to come over here. We've done what we needed to do, and we're just going to call it export 3 now. And we're going to go ahead and click go. And it does the exact same thing it sort of did before. It tells us that the load file production has started, or export has started. And then you can come do the same thing we did before here. And look at the status. You see it's copying the file streams working, then it's going to convert, family naming, blah, blah, blah. I'll refresh when it is done. I'll start the video again when it's done. No need to sort of sit here and wait the 13 plus minutes it might take. So I'll come back in a few seconds. Okay, I've given it a while. I've refreshed my screen, and here's our job. Again, there were errors here, but let's go and see what happened. It's done. As you can see, it completed all of its stages properly. Let's see how long it actually took to finish. That's the time it started, and this is the complete time. It ended up taking only 4 minutes, nothing big. Let's come to downloads, and let's refresh here. And there's export 3. That's the one we want. We're going to go ahead and download that. Click on it and click download. I think this is probably fairly large, so I'm going to skip ahead the download process and I'll resume when it's done. All right, let's see if we can see this thing. Here it is. We can go ahead and unzip it. We want to extract here. Super quick. We come down here. Here it is, export 3. Let's open that up. And there's our folder. And perfect. As we expected, there's our DII, which is our load file. Now we can go hand this off to somebody. It's got its natives and images as we'd asked for. Let's just quickly check. We'll check one image just for, yeah, it's perfect. It's the way it was when we did that native export and we asked for those same things. So that's a load file. It's that simple and or that complex depending on how you found it. But again, hopefully straightforward. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me. Let me put my contact information up on the screen for a minute, as usual. Give you a couple seconds actually to copy this down, and then I'll end the video. Thank you very much.